why Disney adults are going bankrupt for Disney is this. I wouldn't say they're going bankrupt for Disney. I'd say they're going hog wild for Disney. But bankrupt is also another good way to look at it, sure. I mean, this is a huge problem. It is. It's a massive problem. I think the way that we solve the Disney adult crisis is we just make the seats smaller. I think that'll just solve it. Really. That's the only thing. You just solve it right there, make the seats smaller. And then this is, there are things that, certain things, certain problems solve themselves.
Walk around a Disney park today and you'd expect to see excited children dragging their parents from ride to ride.
Yeah.
Instead, you'll see adult enthusiasts running everywhere, screaming, driving around on mobility scooters, documenting every...
Look at this. Look at this. This has to stop. We have to turn this... Why is there so many they're not running, they're on mobility scooters.
Inch of their experience on
Look
TikTok.
They're all fat.
These are Disney adults. And here they are in their natural habitat, riding scooters around at just 20 years old because they can't walk. Eating
20 years old, you can't walk around Disneyland. Honestly, maybe we could send them to North Korea.
About 5 desserts in one day to the tune of 10,000 calories. Crying at
We
random...
need a dad just stand for these people. A dad just stand for fat millennial women.
Stuff in the streets. Childless adults now outnumber families at the parks. Some visit hundreds of times
Wait a
year.
second. Wait a second. Let me hear that again.
Childless adults now outnumber families at the parks.
That's actually so sad. That's like the kind of thing that you hear at like the beginning of like it's like this is like the preamble or like it's like the exposition of Children of Men.
Some visit hundreds of times a year. Some even quit their jobs and relocate to Orlando to go every single day. And it might just be funny on the surface. It might just seem like some stupid, immature people. But it all begins to fall into place when you realize that Disney is an empire. One that spread its roots further and wider than any other company in history. It's consumed some of the most beloved franchises in modern culture. Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, The Simpsons, Indiana Jones. And swallowed up media giants like 20th Century Fox, ABC, ESPN, National Geographic, and Hulu, all absorbed into one giant corporate ecosystem.
I didn't know that.
They also operate 12 theme parks worldwide, a fleet of cruise ships, and an entire planned residential...
Do you know there is an island that those cruise ships used to go by? The island was shaped like the Nickelodeon logo.
Community in Florida. Its combined properties attract over 150 million visitors a year, more than any other major attraction on the planet by an order of magnitude. Even if you don't realize it, you barely go a single day without encountering something Disney owns. The films and programs we stream, the shows that kids everywhere watch in the morning, the merchandise in the shop window, the theme park adverts on your feed. And like every empire, Disney has its castles and, most importantly for its survival, its subjects. Because the most valuable thing that Disney owns can't be found on their balance sheet. Instead, it's the loyalty of millions of adults who don't just enjoy Disney, but embrace it with every fiber of their being, where Disney has truly become their religion. Now, the analogy of Disney adults as the subjects of the empire works so well because this is a fantasy universe manufactured for subservience. And if you want to make anyone subservient to your brand, rich, generally middle-class adults without any religion are usually the holy grail.
That's right, because they got a lot of money.
The overwhelming majority of Disney adults are just white, college-educated North Americans, many of whom spend up to $10,000.
I think the reason why this is happening is it's because it's a lot of millennials grew up and their life was great, and they're constantly chasing away to get back to childhood. They're fixated around how much better things were whenever they were a kid. They have like 7 different mental illnesses, and they're looking to try to reclaim and recapture their inner child so much. It's basically like, instead of trying to create the childhood for the next generation, it's instead of having kids and then giving them the childhood that you had so you can pay it forward, you just want to continue reliving it for yourself over and over and over. And that's the sickest thing about it, is it's a complete inversion of the natural human cycle. Disney adults are you want to know who would have been a Disney adult? You're not going to like this. Saturn would have been a Disney adult. This is the same thing. And I guess they have something in common. They can't stop fucking eating. Metaphorically, on an energy level, it's the same thing. Kronos? His name's Kronos or Saturn. It depends on which language you're referring to him in. The painting is called Saturn Devouring His Son or something like that, and it's by Francisco Goya. Excuse me. It was discovered after his death, if I remember correctly.
$1,000 a year on just Disney alone. And a lot of the time, most are spending considerably more.
It's going to be up
Not Goyam.
for 2 days.
About $35,000.
You can easily burn through $1,000 in a single day at the parks without even doing anything extravagant. A Disney cruise can set you back more than a fortnight in Southeast Asia. Yet for most, it's the only holiday they take. So think about what that really means. These are people with the money and freedom to go anywhere in the world, to explore different cultures, try new experiences, and see things that might genuinely challenge or change them. But instead, people just seem to come again and again to the same place, again and again. Not because they've weighed up their options, but because nothing else even occurs to them. Some would even go into huge debt to maintain their Disney addiction, even when their salaries don't stretch far enough to cover it.
I think that there's an element of this that's like cultural, where people think that going to Disneyland is like a status indicator. And so they spend money being able to do this in order to maintain that status. This is very common. It's an older status indicator, right? It's like, somebody wins the Super Bowl. What are you going to do? I'm going to go to Disneyland, right? Something like that. But yeah.
So
somebody said it's soy boy Mecca. Is Disneyland Mecca for fat women? Fat millennial women? Wow. That's big. I got wow.
Wow.
For the both of us.
What?
For both of us.
For fucking what?
That's big.
You spent $1,000 on just being at Disney. Here. $1,000.
Never trust a fat person to make a good decision. I actually don't need to elaborate.
Just on the Disney crap.
There you go.
For a day. For 1 day.
Some don't just visit regularly. They restructure their entire lives around
proximity to the
parks. From there, you can visit every day if you want. And some people practically do.
How does visiting nearly 3,000 times sound? Well, that has been done by this man, Jeff Wrights. He started visiting the park every day in 2012.
Think about how the rulers of ancient empires made their money. They owned the land, controlled the culture, and dictated traditions and rituals, and the subjects paid for the privilege. Disney has achieved something remarkably similar in our world.
It's Disneyland is feudalism. I love it.
And it's getting stronger every single year. Disney adults naturally date other Disney adults through dedicated dating sites because who else would understand?
Didn't we find a Disney adult dating site?
We did. I
mean, that shows you that you can find somebody in this world.
Yeah.
You can get married in front of the castle. You can get married in the haunted mansion. And instead of a traditional...
I don't think that one's so bad. Like, getting married at Disneyland, I think it's corny, but it's not bad.
Some Disney adults choose bespoke pieces to get married in, like these Mickey Mouses made in collaboration with some of the...
All right, okay, now we're at... I think getting married there is fine, but this is too much. This is way too much.
World's most premium brands, like Vera Wang, honeymoons, also Disney, or maybe a Disney cruise. And if you're now thinking this must be as far as it goes, then you haven't heard of Golden Oak. Golden Oak is essentially for the boss level Disney adult. It's the most extreme form of constructing your life around Disney. It is a community within Disney World itself.
I feel like I'm watching a video about Scientology. But it's at least fucking John Travolta and Tom Cruise, these guys are locked in. It's this is Scientology for fat retards.
of eye-wateringly expensive mansions that start at around $10 million. Homes are built to Disney spec with statues and paintings of characters in the gardens and on the walls, floors, and ceilings. So now we have homes, holidays, and relationships all inside the Disney universe. So what's left? Identity itself. Disney doesn't actually allow adults to wear full costumes to the parks.
That's probably a good decision. I do the same thing because that way they're not, yeah, I mean, that's smart.
Reserved for children, so employees dressed as characters remain the only real versions.
Yeah.
So Disney bounding means
dressing. No, it's for safety. I mean, honestly, it's just like take away the IP stuff. Who cares about that? It's for safety. Like you have a person, like an adult, covering their face at Disneyland, interacting with kids, touching them. Like that's scary, man. It's really scary.
To evoke a character without technically being in costume. Now the word means that these people are bound for Disney, headed that way to evade the costume police, but it portrays a deeper truth. These adults are both bound by Disney, a soft, comfortable cage that poses no challenges, and they are bound to Disney. They eschew individual identity and bolt themselves onto
Disney is a representation of their childhood. That's really what they're going after. It's not really about Disney itself. It's about either Disney as a social status indicator or being able to go there as a social status indicator, or about them trying to reclaim a lost childhood that they think that they still deserve.
These characters instead. And then there's the most disturbing ritual of all, one that came to light through horrified employees.
What's this?
As you can see throughout this video, we use a lot of stock footage. And one thing that never really gets talked about with video creation is just how much time gets burned finding the right assets. Not just the editing, but hunting for the footage, the music, the sound effects, graphics, all across different
What do you think the probability?
Which is why I'm proud to say this video is sponsored
by what's the percentage of Disney adults that have nose rings?
Videos for years,
women only.
Because
only
Storyblocks
women.
gives you unlimited downloads of really
female
high-quality
Disney
stock
adults
media
with nose rings.
just a simple monthly subscription. There's no per asset fees, no surprised licensing.
People say
issues,
100%.
Just access to everything in one place. And that includes 4K and HD video, music, sound effects, images, templates, and motion graphics. All created by real artists, not just generic filler content.
Not
which
AI.
is why the footage actually feels authentic, not like stock you've seen hundreds of times before. And because it's unlimited, you can browse through and collect interesting footage that helps you tell compelling stories like we've been doing in this video you're watching right now. With Storyblocks, you
are
can
these
try
real
different
Disney
edits,
adults or
test
fake
ideas,
ones?
swap music, change
Have I been
pacing
lied
without
to?
ever worrying that every download costs extra. It also just saves you a ton of time if you make videos. As Storyblocks members save an average of 3.5 hours a week, especially with things like pre-made templates and motion graphics you can drop straight into Premiere Pro or After Effects. And everything you
know you can
download
own
from
a kangaroo in
Storyblocks is
Texas?
royalty-free and fully licensed.
I do now.
So you're
Thanks.
protected forever. Which is why if you need unlimited stock media at one set price,
You hear that protected forever thing? That was the thing that they sued Valve over.
head to
That's what they
storyblocks.com/moon or
the same
click the
type of
link in
thing.
the description below. Disney
exactly.
adults often choose Disneyland as the final resting place for the remains of their loved ones. Employees
Disney fans want their ashes spread at parks. It's a forbidden ritual. Yeah, but it's forbidden to put people's ashes at any national park. This isn't anything that's unique to Disney, right?
have taken to social media to admit that they regularly have to go and clean the ashes of a dead person.
One custodian told the Journal the Haunted Mansion probably has so much human ashes in it that it's not even funny. Now, custodians the Haunted Mansion probably has so much human ashes in it that it's not even funny. Now,
What the fuck?
Custodians told the Wall Street Journal that the job requires a special vacuum cleaner, which comes out at least once a month.
Disneyland is now recognized.
Wait, they have a vacuum cleaner for vacuuming? God.
As one of the most popular places on Earth to scatter ashes.
Wow.
Employees receive special training on how to clean ashes. The company even has a special code word grandma to alert
Code Grandma? Oh my god, this is amazing!
employees that more ashes need to be cleaned.
Code
it's
Grandma!
quite morbid for us to think that these people's ashes are being vacuumed up by a 17-year-old on minimum wage and dumped in a bin with leftover turkey drumstick.
Yes! There's some fucking 15-year-old that's high as fuck, and he's like, what's all this shit, bro?
Netflix. For Disney adults, it's a fitting end to a Disney life. So from birthdays to weddings to death, every stage of life channeled through the same corporation. The psychoanalyst Erich Fromm called this automaton conformity, the idea that people escape the anxiety of freedom by adopting pre-packaged identities.
That's called religion.
Have to figure out who you are if someone's already done it for you. You don't have to face the terror of choice if the choices have already been made. This is exactly what Disney offers.
I was waiting on Grand Theft Auto.
Identity off of the shelf. Your character, your aesthetic, your community, all handed to you in a gift shop bag. They go so far as to engineer the physical environment.
This is so many people have a consumer. They have a identity that has been mass produced for consumerism. A lot of people have this now.
To make sure it sticks, the parks use patented scent cannons, called smellitzers, hidden in walls and vents, firing specific fragrances at you hundreds of times a day. The olfactory system, meaning your sense of smell, connects directly to the brain regions for emotion and memory, which is exactly why Disney invested
Smell is the most powerful sense that can elicit memories. That's my understanding. Can elicit a vivid memory.
Heavily in scent engineering. There are also over 30,000 unique paint colors across the parks, including a shade called Go Away Green, specifically designed to make infrastructure invisible to guests. The background music in the morning is fast and exciting. Evening music slows down to make you linger and shop. So the brainwashing extends from the physical environment in parks, which still constitutes.
I think this is a bit of a weaker point because most companies and most people that run any sort of retail establishment do something that's similar to this.
Vast majority of Disney's profits to its sprawling digital empire of content and franchises.
Yeah, they don't want to fuck with the immersion by having all the infrastructure be painted right, you know, like super bright gold or like, you know, red and green or something. Like, yeah, of course.
They started handing each film to a different director with a different vision and no shared outline. For Star Wars, they spent 2 films building up the villain Snoke, then killed him off with no explanation, and then patched it over with somehow Palpatine returned.
I was a believer that I thought he was Darth Vader. I thought he was Darth Vader. I remember seeing like the scar on the face and then the fucking helmet. I was like, I think this is Darth Vader.
A line so lazy, it became a meme as soon as the credits rolled. Then there was the infamous Snow White, which we've made tons of videos on before. Hundreds of millions were spent on a remake where the lead called the original weird and the princess stalker.
With a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
While the romance was gutted
that one didn't work.
Girl boss leadership arcs nobody asked for, where the dwarfs were replaced with CGI and it completely bombed and everybody hated it, completely desecrating the original loved one. There's a pattern across everything Disney touches now where ideology takes priority over storytelling. We've seen it with the conflicts in politics in Florida with just the parks alone, but also in movies and TV, characters are constantly rewritten to represent something. Where villains...
The problem is, like, anytime that you do a race swap or a gender swap with a character, the only time where it makes sense is if you're bringing in somebody who is an S-tier actor. Like, for example, they had Lawrence Fishburne play Regis in Witcher 3. Or they had, you know, for example, what's his name? Fucking Samuel Jackson play Nick Fury. I don't think people really care about that. But, like, whenever you're bringing in just, like, a random no-name actor to just do a race swap... Like, what's really what's the point for this?
Become straw men for whatever ideological message the writers want to push. The old Disney movies at least told universal stories about love, loss, courage, and fear that could touch everyone. Now even Bob Iger himself had to publicly admit that Disney had been putting, quote, messaging over storytelling, and that he would finally no longer tolerate it. When the CEO of a company is saying that out loud, you know the rot has gone deep.
Well, yeah, it's probably way worse than what you'd imagine.
Disney adults, as visible and extreme as they are, only represent the most obvious layer. They're the ones who wear their loyalty openly, but many of us contribute too, and often without realizing we're doing it. Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar fans didn't sign up for Disney. Disney just comes for all of us. If you probably watch anything on TV...
I think it's a huge problem whenever you have big media conglomerates that consolidate all of these franchises and then try to align them to push the same message. Like, I mean, I don't know about it being illegal, right? I mean, I'm just saying, like, I find it to be problematic and I don't like it. Like for me, I mean, growing up, obviously, I think a lot of us that are like I'm 35, right? A lot of us that are about my age, we probably all had the stacks of the VHS tapes, right? That like maybe our parents would get us, Pocahontas, my favorite was Hercules. And, like these were great. I have very, very fond memories of this. And, honestly, I still like I like Star Wars. I like Marvel movies. Like it's, I can be a slop enjoyer. Sorry to say, I do.
It's coming for you. When Disney buys these companies, it acquires fandoms. Entire generations of people who had built deep emotional connections to these franchises suddenly found themselves at the company's mercy. And in some cases, the result has been nothing short of vandalism, as we saw with the failed Star Wars movies and series, or the constant
that's the message, really.
Marvel reruns that seem to get worse and worse and worse. Let alone all the countless other franchises ruined in the blatant crusade of profit extraction. Now, you might roll your eyes at a grown woman sobbing over Goofy or Mickey Mouse, but Disney is an all-consuming beast that might destroy something you love eventually. We've mentioned it many times with films like Snow White, as this all tells us the most insidious thing about how the company operates. It isn't purely extrinsic, something bottled onto modern culture from the outside. It's intrinsic to our memories, our feelings, our sense of what safety and happiness mean. A company whose influence
that's the reason why it's so attractive to people, is that it reminds a lot of these people of like what it was like being a kid. And I think it's a much larger, I don't know if he's going to get into this, but like this is the same with Pokemon cards. It's the same thing with Disney. It's the same thing with video games. It's the same thing with I say Pokemon. It's the same thing with things like Genshin Impact. It's the same thing with like, even though they're not like, like super old. It's like, it's obviously that like Genshin Impact is made for mentally ill middle school girls, right? It's like, okay, there's a triangle, a circle, and then a square, and then another triangle. What's next? Oh, a circle? Good job. You did your daily quest, right? So it's like, it's made for retards. Basically, the game's made for retards. And so the problem is that overall, like, people try so hard, and I think it's especially my generation tries so insanely, incredibly hard to not grow up. That's basically the main goal. Never grow up, never be an adult, don't have your own kids, always be the kid. It's sick. It is. It's sick. And instead of wanting to create those experiences for the next generation of your kids, you just keep wanting to re-experience them yourself. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Give me a minute. Okay. Anyway.
Grown inside of us since childhood, and it starts with something most of us completely underestimate. I mean, just think about some iconic Disney moments. Different films, different decades, different characters, but the same feeling. That warmth in your chest, that tug backwards to somewhere safe and simple. And don't get me wrong, in many cases, there is great cinema with Disney. The mere existence.
I always thought these movies, honestly, I like Hercules, but I always thought the movie's kind of gay. It's kind of gay, bro. Like the movie. Whenever I like Willow a lot. That was a movie I liked a lot. And then, for me, it was really Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, bro. Like when that came out, like I was out. Every other movie was dog shit at that point.
Of Disney adults doesn't negate everything Disney has ever done.
Labyrinth.
This is a company that captures something universal about childhood. The wonder, the safety, the simplicity, the beauty, the innocence, and put it into words and pictures in a way nobody has ever done before. And that turned out to be the recipe for insane success. It allowed America's soft power to expand across the world. And there's a word for the feeling Disney films try so hard to create, and it's older and more powerful than most people ever realize.
What is it?
Nostalgia. And it comes from two ancient Greek words, nostos meaning to return home, and algos meaning pain. It was actually coined as a medical diagnosis in the 17th century to describe the crippling homesickness of Swiss soldiers fighting abroad who longed for their homeland so desperately that some became physically ill. Nostalgia isn't happiness, it's closer to a kind of grief, a yearning for something you once had or think you had that you can never return to. And that's what makes it so commercially potent. If the feeling were wholly satisfying, you'd experience it once and move on. But nostalgia pulls you back again and again because it never quite delivers what it promises. Disney enthusiasts are suspended in that nostalgia cycle, and it's highly addictive. We all probably reminisce about childhood or when we were young and nothing mattered.
I do all the
Disney
time.
positioned itself to capitalize on that wistful emotion. Of course, Disney didn't invent nostalgia, but they were the first to understand how essential it is to our human experience. They recognized it as an unresolved need, and if you could make yourself the answer to its calling, you'd make people dependable. The fertile ground for this was childhood. That's where our deepest emotional connections are formed, and for a company whose long-term survival depends—
This is a big video. I think more people need to be talking about this. This is going to be an increasingly bigger problem as I think that people around my age begin to get older. It's a huge issue.
On those connections lasting well beyond childhood, their work had to start there. So Disney invested enormous resources into understanding how children form emotional bonds, psychological research into their emotional drivers, how they interpret symbols, what feels authentic versus manufactured. They used those findings—
It's kind of crazy that, like, as a kid, you're getting spawn camped by, like, people trying to change your gender, and then there's an entire billion-dollar industry of psychologists figuring out how to get you addicted to, like, TV shows. And then once you get into middle school, you're competing with billionaires for the girls in your school. And then finally you become an adult, and now you're going to be used as a battery. Just kind of sucks, really. I mean, really kind of sucks.
Calibrate their films with specific color palettes, certain music intervals, and certain narrative beats, all to create maximum emotional resonance in developing brains. We associate a lot of this work with big tech, but Disney, funnily enough, was there first. Before the 90s and 2000s, the big commercial—
Disney was big tech. The technology they had to make some of those movies was crazy. Like, they were head and shoulders above, like, everybody else.
Problem was still that children's—
By the way, you know what went harder than any Disney cartoon? Popeye the Sailor Man. It's not even close. It's not even remotely close.
Films, even the most successful ones, don't turn a company into a conglomerate. Disney's parks were making the serious money, but while you can hook children in with films while they're young, they aren't the ones with money to spend at the parks. They needed to tap into that adult money. Look at Walt Disney himself explaining this.
Were your films principally designed for children?
Well, no, you have to appeal to the adult, or, the adults have the money, the children don't have any money.
So they had to crack adulthood, and luckily, an early Disney movie, Peter Pan, provided the perfect solution. You have to stop people from growing up. Disney later summed up the strategy in 2 words: age decompression, and it
age decompression. That sounds like, you know what? That sounds like somebody that, like, was talking about that topic I was talking about earlier, right?
Comes into its own in the last 10 to 20 years. We've been sold the idea that adulthood is a rude awakening, and of course it feels like—
Oh, it is. It sucks. I wish I could be a kid again. Absolutely. 100%. But you can't be.
Sometimes work, bill, rent, stress, disappointment in friendships, relationships.
Like, I got bills under my fucking desk. I gotta pay.
Song on the street unless they're intoxicated or going through some sort of mental crises.
Fuck.
Strangers glare at you for making eye contact. You spend your days in cramped flat shares, walking concrete streets, working in glass offices. Not extraordinary places bursting with color and life. This isn't what you were promised throughout childhood. You're a princess, a prince, a chosen one, just waiting to be discovered. But the problem is that when you treat adults like children long enough, they start to behave like them. The infantilization of culture is now endemic to society. It's my safe space. I'm protecting my energy. This is my self-care. We've built an entire vocabulary around retreating from challenges and wrapped it in the language of mental health, which—
This guy is cooking so hard right now. Holy fuck, this is good. I've been waiting on this for a while. God damn. Adulting? Yeah, bro, like, this is big. I'm gonna take this back 15 seconds real quick. Listen to this again.
It's my safe space. I'm protecting my energy. This is my self-care. We've built an entire vocabulary around retreating from challenges and wrapped it in the language of mental health, which makes it impossible to question. If someone says Disney is their safe space, what are you gonna do? Tell them that their feelings are wrong?
Get out, bitch!
attacking their coping mechanism, you sound like a monster. And that's the shield. Corporations love this because a customer who believes they need your product for their emotional well-being and life is a customer for life. So what do you do when adult life just does feel too intense? Well, you go back to your safe place. Now we all turn to our favorite form of...
the thing is, like, that's not even a bad thing. It's not a bad place. It's not a bad thing to have a safe space. Like, I have a safe space. I just go back and I play video games and I just forget about things. But the thing is that if your entire life is revolving around that and you're not doing anything else and it's negatively affecting other aspects of your life, you need to you got to come to Jesus at a certain point, right? You got to figure out like, what's really going on here? What am I doing with my life?
Escapism when we're in a rough patch. Some play the video games they played as kids or cook food they had as kids. It's okay to escape occasionally. But when manufactured on an empire global corporate level, escaping becomes a trap its subjects willfully live in because the alternative is too frightening. Ever since childhood, they've been made long-term, lifelong consumers. The psychoanalyst Erich Fromm called this automaton conformity, the idea that people escape the anxiety of freedom by adopting pre-packaged identities. You don't have to figure out who you are if someone's already done it for you. You don't have to face the terror of choice if the choices have already been made. So in this sense, escapism might be the biggest misnomer of the century. People are going to the same place, consuming the same story.
I think it's another example, I think, of, the age-old moderation, right? It's like, it's okay to do this sometimes. It's not okay to do this all the time. That's the problem.
Is riding the same rides, wearing the same ears year after year. There's no true exploration, just the illusion of exploration mirrored in a form that feels safe and easy. You might have heard of Plato's allegory of the cave, which is one of the world's oldest thought experiments. Inside the cave, the prisoners are chained up facing a wall watching shadows flicker in the firelight. They've never been outside to see the real world, and the shadows are all they know. So to them,
this is what I felt like whenever I was playing WoW.
Shadows are the
I was only playing World of Warcraft.
The important bit is what happens when one prisoner finally gets dragged outside.
That's whenever I played Dark Souls 1. And then I immediately fell off the cliff and died. And then I banned 200 people on Reddit for bringing it up.
Light is blinding, the real world is overwhelming, confusing, and just too much to process.
It's a great time.
You might feel like this when you're about to start a real adventure. You might step off the train, plane, or bus in an entirely new place and feel anxious yet excited trepidation. It could also be something like starting a new job, going to a new school, or heading to university for the first time. It's uncomfortable by definition. This isn't your comfort zone. This is what makes it an adventure, and eventually you become...
I don't think that anybody has an obligation. I don't like going outside my comfort zone. I like generally doing things. Like, I feel like I was born to live in a monastery and to do nothing all day. I think that was my calling in life, to do nothing and maybe write some shit down. Like, that's it. Like, I don't think that I wasn't really born to really be a contributing member of society. And I think that to the extent that, they've tried to make me that, it's just been a problem. And, never too late. Yeah, sure. And no, I'm being totally real. Like, I am totally satisfied doing nothing. It's great. And like, you get to, because like, you think about all those monks, they sitting around there, those guys in Tibet, bro, they just hang out all fucking day, bro. Like, everything is fine. Like, I bet they have blood pressure of like fucking like 95. Like, they never been stressed out in their life. There's never been a problem ever. Nobody's gonna get worried. Everything's gonna be fine.
Comfortable.
Low
These
cortisol,
life happens.
No cortisol.
But when someone feels thrown into the unknown, their first instinct tends to be that they want to go back.
Yeah.
Disney manufactured a fake representation of adventure that keeps people cocooned inside their cave. And honestly, it's kind of evil genius. For the most extreme followers, it made the cave so beautiful, so emotionally optimized, so perfectly calibrated that the real world just could never compete at all. But Plato's point wasn't that the cave is evil.
It's also like, I mean, because you got to keep in mind, like, there's another factor of this, and then it's that, like, you have a lot of young people, and like, you're 24, you're like, let's say you're 30 years old, and like, you don't have a college degree, or let's say you got a college degree in graphic design and you got replaced by ChatGPT, and you're fat now and you don't have a girlfriend, And yeah, you're probably going to want to look at video games. You're going to care a lot about video games because the thing is that society has left a lot of people behind, and it's important to keep that in mind. It's not like these people are like Disney adults are losers in a lot of cases, but sometimes people that are losers are not always losers of, you can feel a degree of sympathy or, it sucks that you're in this situation type thing. It does. It sucks. It's sad that they're in that position.
Prisoner who stays there will never know what they're missing.
Some of them.
You can't miss a sunset you've never seen. You can't long for depth you've never experienced.
Yeah.
The cave doesn't feel like a cage. That's the deeper problem. And this is where this whole video stops being about a story on Disney adults and becomes a story about all of us. Because making us feel comfortable with the cave is the dominant strategy behind social media, behind every streaming service, and lately, generative AI. Every app on your phone is designed around the principle to keep it simple, keep it rewarding.
This is the same problem with how toxic self-help content is on the internet, is that almost all self-help content it basically leads you to the point that you've realized that the only thing that you can do in this life is jack off to cartoon porn and order DoorDash and not get a job. That's it. And society, whether it's because of the Jews, women, the patriarchy, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, your teacher, let's see here. Stereotypes, whatever it is, something is keeping you inside. And the best thing that you can do is jack off to OnlyFans and order DoorDash. That's it. And a lot of self-help content on the internet is focused around creating that learned helplessness. It is. And it's also not even really, that's not true. It's not creating the learned helplessness. It's enabling it. And that's what happens a lot. I see it constantly.
Keep them coming back. Swipe right, swipe left, like, subscribe, follow. Don't make anyone think too hard. Don't make anyone wait. Don't make anyone uncomfortable.
Nobody wants to
Reduce
think.
every interaction to its simplest possible form and repeat it infinitely. They create environments where the content is familiar, the rewards are predictable, and the outside world, with all its friction and ambiguity.
Well, the rewards are not predictable out of social media. That actually was what makes it even more addicting. It's called a variable reinforcement schedule. It's like a Sigmund Freud concept, right? Is it no, B.F. Skinner, I think. It's one or the other, I forgot which one. That's the concept they have. It's social media is unreliable and it is uncertain, and that's the reason why it's so addictive.
Starts to feel like too much effort.
Skinner, I thought so.
Disney has been pioneering this model for 100 years, targeting psychological engineering at children, building an empire driven by profit extraction at a level that puts people into more debt than substance abuse, brainwashing you since you're a child to always stay a lifelong Disney consumer. And the greatest trick they played was making the fake world feel like enough, making the fake experience feel like a life. That's what makes the cave feel so complete that the prisoners never even think to look for the door. But don't be fooled into thinking this is some far-flung issue situated inside a theme park in Florida. You might find yourself or someone you know.
There's a lot of people that do this. Like the Disney adults are like the funniest, stupidest one that's easy to make, to joke about. But there's plenty of people that never mentally progress past high school, from all of their frame of reference and everything is like, what I did in high school and who my friends were there and, what my interests were then. I think that this is a very, very common thing. It's an extremely common thing. And Disney adults are just simply one element of that.
Right there with them, watching the shadows dance.
It's all the same, really.
And thanks to Storyblocks for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check them out using the link in the description below.
No, this is a good video. It was a great video. I like this a lot. Honestly, the stuff that he was saying at the end, I was really, really, really happy to hear that. Because I think more people need to discuss this. More people need to talk about it. Because it's becoming an increasingly bigger issue that you're having more and more of these people that are not wanting to live past their childhood. And I think that there are some good reasons and there are some bad reasons for that. It's not like it's one or the other. It's kind of like everything put together, and it just creates a perfect confluence of events that's just really, really unpleasant, right? I think that's basically it. It's manipulative and unpleasant.